over on the official forums, a thread kicked off and got an interesting response from the devs. And so I wanted to cover that with you here today. And welcome to the channel, everyone. Hello. By the way, if you're new, my name's Brian. If you're a returning subscriber, welcome back, you magnificent beast. Today's video is going to be more of a discussion-oriented video because they're clearly not spelling out their plans, but they're continuing to lean into what is going to be the February dev update. If you guys have been following any and all of the Eternum, the Sit Down, the Forge and Eternum series, I think they're doing a really good job kind of pinpointing and addressing things as they come up, and that actually I think is a really unique tool. Personally speaking, I hope they continue doing that. But what I want to focus in on today is this response from the devs, because this is something that I'm feeling too, and as always, I'd love to know your thoughts so we can kind of discuss those in the comments below and hopefully do some follow-up videos later in this week if at all possible. Now, Declaron says, the current PTR build is more an immediate patch coming to the live servers within the next week or so, mainly focusing on quality of life bugs and the leaderboards. Beyond that, they have a pretty big announcement and sizable PTR update, which will follow quick on its heels. This is probably more likely what you're expecting, and truthfully, we're excited about this too. So first and foremost, I was kind of more or less thinking the February update might be more later February, but if they end up knocking the leaderboards in to the core system, not that it's perfect, not that I'm personally like the way that it is implemented now, kind of feels like a B minus. I don't know how you'd currently score it. If I was going to bring in that kind of aspect, I think there's definitely rooms for improvement. And I've discussed that, and I'm not going to rehash that here specifically because I'm not here to waste your time. Literally, what I'm thinking though is that obviously the announcements, they do the update, and now we do the next big dev update, PTR update, and that is leaning into what we're going to start to see in the spring. We know we're not getting weapons, but we know we get the territory changes. We know we're going to get the the loadouts, or however that's going to be structured. They kind of tease that in the last Eternum Forged and Eternum series, and I think that's going to be significant. I think that's where we're going to start to see our meaty content. And my personal hope is that if that ends up being the case, they do that, rolls into the live, and then the PTR is more or less focusing in on what we might expect, I would say in April, because I want them to have enough time to take the feedback. And here's where life and development get really tricky. So I'm putting on my software dev hat, that's what I do for a living. If you guys aren't aware, software dev hat on. My personal and greatest frustration with video game marketing is when they treat a beta as a marketing campaign, meaning, hey, get early access to the quote-unquote beta. That's a stress test. Let's just call it what it is. It's a stressed test if you're a couple of weeks away from launch, because you're not going to be able to take any of that feedback and realistically, with any given time, get it implemented. Now, the devs in their last Forge and Eternum series talked about why things are either difficult or why they appear difficult, and the reality is that it really shouldn't be viewed as easy or hard, but all in a function of time. Something quote unquote might be easy, but it is actually going to take more time to implement. It's not actually difficult because a lot of the core systems are there, but you end up having something that touches system after system after system after system. The level of complexity might be great, but you have the talent, you have the skills. Everybody knows what needs to get done. You just got to go do the work, and it's just going to take time. So if you stop thinking about things of easy and difficulty and you focus 100% on how much time is this really going to take, that ends up being how things kind of get categorized and placed. But let's be real. The leaderboards and the feedback that has been given and given and given, I personally would love to see them talk about that. I really hope they can sit down and talk about it in a Forge and Eternum, because what happens in the real world, in the development world, like that feedback gets, quantified, and then it gets turned into, I'm going to call them PBIs, they could be something else, but essentially backlog items that then get prioritized and assigned and scheduled. And I think that's going to be the important thing to see. I think if you're hungry for New World content, this is always going to be the slowest time for both information, for hype, etc. Now, come the February dev update, we're going to enter a new, what I call mini hype cycles, or a hype season. I've called this aspect the 3 seasons of the game as a service, or an MMO: hype, grind, and bitch, where you get excited, then you consume the content, and then you're frustrated because you've consumed all the content, and then the cycle repeats. And so this is a mini cycle. I think there is a bigger cycle going on as well, so you can have seasons within a greater sense of it, and you can kind of see this play out in real time if you start actually looking at how other MMOs roll out their content. But you kind of have the bigger cycles and the smaller cycles all kind of rocking and rolling together. But in all of that, I think essentially what I want to see from the February update, it would be really cool to see if some of their feedback was already kind of set and working for the fall, with the expectation that some of these features that obviously were a miss and it's easier for them just to get them in the system. And then all of a sudden, hey, it's the fall PTR. Guess what? All those changes for your feedback has actually been visible and shown. And that's just the nature of how branches and development work. It would be my ultimate wish, and this is not anything that's going to be practical, but if everybody kind of was working in those kind of environments, you end up kind of, seeing through, and sometimes you can see through the marketing and sometimes you can't. But at its core, I think this is a really cool note. I think this is a really exciting note. Is it going to be the be all end all, the biggest thing to happen in New World? No, I think that's going to be sometime this fall. We'll have to see. They hit that target, because they have no fall roadmap or anything for us. But I saw this today. I thought it was interesting. I wanted to sit down, toss this into your feed, get your generalized thoughts about what you feel like this is. Are you excited for the February dev update? Everything kind of points to we're going to probably get this pretty soon. They say in the next week or two, or so in this case, so to quote them accurately. And then if we're thinking about a week or so, I mean, that roughly puts us right at the start of February, right going into, if not February the 1st, you'd probably be maybe looking at the 8th, which gives them a couple of weeks to kind of give us that dev update, and then we kind of go into the March and the April cycle. Speaking of which, we do know the network test for Blue Protocol got delayed till probably late March, and so that's going to be something I know I'm looking forward to participate in. So lots of really cool stuff happening in terms of these games and these MMOs and these RPGs. So lots to be excited about. Anyway, very curious about your thoughts. Feel free to sound off below. If you don't feel like commenting publicly, you can always jump into Discord, or you can DM me privately as well. I'm always generally curious about what you guys are thinking. Also, if you guys have topics, I usually go off of the topics are usually what you guys suggest. So feel free to leave those below. I got a couple that I'm working on in terms of scripting, and also just making sure I have all my ducks in a row, things like that. Anyway, thanks for your time. You guys are awesome. If you like the videos, maybe you'll check out these other videos that are up on screen. Just click them and let the YouTube algorithm take you, hopefully, to another good video. Thanks for being here. Hopefully I'll see you next time. But until then, take care.